The human skull is made up of 8 cranial bones that surround and protect the brain, and 14 facial bones that form the underlying structure of the face and support for the teeth. With the exception of the mandible, the bones of the skull articulate with each other through joints known as sutures. Throughout the skull, holes known as foramina serve as passageways for blood vessels and nerves. Bones on the surface of the skull encase the brain, protect sensory organs, and serve as attachment sites for the muscles of the head and neck. These bones include the occipital bone, parietal bones, temporal bones, and the frontal bone, as well as the nasal bones, the zygomatic bones, the maxilla, and the mandible.
So one of the things I think that was important there is, we'd have to go back, that I didn't fully recognize, and I think we should recognize, that the bones, they articulate. In other words, they're not just fixed things. So point is, since there's joints between them, if you hit them, it isn't just like you're hitting something solid. There's like joint tissue. In other words, that the I don't know. The point is that where you hit will transmit energy from that bone, especially depending on how hard you're striking that specific bone, to the underlying structures. I just realized that because the idea is that we think of them, even though bone, even if they're connected. I thought the sutures, they were like sutured together, but they're joints.
Other bones become more visible only when looking inside the skull.
Yeah, we don't care.
The sphenoid bone makes up.
We don't care.
Located between the orbits, the ethmoid bone makes up a portion of third of the hard palate, part of the nasal cavity, and a portion of the orbit. The small, thin lacrimal bones make up the anterior portion of the medial wall, forming an intricate structure perfectly suited to its functions.
Yeah.
Its functions.
We'll go to the beginning.
I
don't know.
The human skull is made up of 8 cranial bones that surround and protect the brain, and 14 facial bones that form the underlying structure of the face and support for the teeth. With the exception of the mandible, the bones of the skull articulate with each other through joints known as sutures. Throughout the skull, holes known as foramina serve as passageways for blood vessels and nerves. Bones on the surface of the skull encase the brain, protect sensory organs, and serve as attachment sites for the muscles of the head and neck.
I'm more interested in
the body of the sphenoid features a depression known as the sella turcica, which houses the pituitary gland.
Yes.
The cranium. It is a butterfly-shaped encase the brain, protect sensory organs, and serve as attachment sites for the muscles of the head and neck. These bones include the occipital bone, parietal bones, temporal bones, and the frontal bone, as well as the nasal bones, the zygomatic bones, the maxilla, and the mandible. Other bones become more visible.
And, I don't know, possible that,
only when looking inside the skull. The sphenoid bone and 2 pair of laterally projecting bones and the frontal bone, as well as the nasal bones, the zygomatic bones, the maxilla, and the mandible.
So what I was interested in is, I suppose, I don't know if, again, hammer fist, I still think hammer fist to the side. Again, definitely hammer fist to the side. where I'd have to go back to my other application where you have you have both nerves exposed and you have the basically all of those articulating joints that we already saw on the sort of side of the skull, but it does show that it's such a small bone on the nose. I know everyone wants to hit up on it, but I was a little curious, actually. Seems like a hammer fist striking inwards to, or a backhand striking inwards to the, where are you?
Temporal bones and the frontal bone, as well as the nasal bones, the zygomatic bones, the maxilla, and the mandible.
Because the maxilla, I guess my thought is, so the maxilla, forget the maxilla exactly. Now again, we talked about the mandible. The mandible's weakness is there's a whole bunch of nerves, as I think the other thing showed, right around and in the back that aren't protected. And it's so loose. So my feeling is that, so in the areas where you have nerves, and it isn't always a direct strike on a nerve, it can be, but also it's transmitting energy to the nerves. So, which is going to come in the form of stretching of nerves. And again, the nerves are, very intricately placed and go through those little holes and form in it, whatever. So, I guess my point is that, I don't know if this is as much if you're striking down on the whatever nasal bone, but more that see if we can go back to here, and let's what is this? Let's come on, go away from this. Hey, there we go. So like I was saying, right, that you have this bone going through, nerve going through here, you have these nerves going through there. So if you're striking the jaw, I know everyone's like striking the temple, okay, maybe, but you're doing a couple of things. Is to me, I also think it might be the angle of the striking. I don't know, can you draw or something like that? I'm a little curious. If the angle's going up, it's not a very good arrow. Come on. No, that's not what I wanted. Not what I wanted. So if a punch is striking up, anyways, forget that. I know everyone's like, oh, strike to the temple, blah blah blah. Temple being right there. I don't know. But again, when talking about the jaw, stop, go away. That you're tweaking, god damn you, lots of nerves. Because even if we build back up the muscles, you still have, those nerves exposed and whatever. I'm staying on the zygomatic arch. But I guess I didn't realize how much energy can be transmitted because they're joints around here as opposed to just hard, solid, I mean, when I say joints, I mean, like a joint and a joint and a joint. Those are joints. I guess that wasn't apparent to me. They were joints. So even though you only have a little nerve there, and you have a little nerve here, who cares? I'm not that interested in that. You have a big nerve right there, obviously. So if you're, hitting the zygomatic, arch, the zygomatic bone there, I think that can cause some major problems that you were starting to notice. Again, I know you've had as much, gallbladder, as much success with that, but I always notice when there are some nerves exposed. That's not what I wanted. Some nerves exposed, even when you have your full musculature there, which you do there. And interestingly, I remember someone said when you come down, like coming down like that, not like hit it on the cheek, I should say, on the, like, down like that, that can cause some damage. Got the nerves right there. But I think the biggest thing is you have all of these nerves here. I should say here, right? And to me, that's quite important. Because like I said, if you take a look, got those nerves there. So you're, when we talk about, oh, you're hitting the temple, and I get that. But remember, all of those nerves are sitting on the mandible. And yes, stretching of a nerve, I don't know how any other way to describe the fact that stretching of a nerve damages a nerve. Nerves are really, really, I don't know what the word for it is. I mean, really small, little thin, so you're damaging those nerves. I don't know when we keep talking about knockouts, but I mean, so yeah, a hammer fist to that area, whether it's the temple, or I'd even say more effectively the back of the the back of the kind of the back of the jaw area, is going to be more effective. I mean, it also, I think, shows why. I'm trying to remember. Let's go up. Let's minus some of the muscle. I'm trying to remember where triple wormer 17 is. Not triple wormer 17, small intestine. No, I didn't want because you can't really see. Anyways, I suppose it's just some of the blood vessels that also on the side of the skull, that it's never good to rupture blood vessels for people. And there are blood vessels actually beneath the skull there, but obviously there's some big blood vessels coming up right there that you're also going to be hitting if you're hitting on the side, but forget that. I don't think that blood vessel matters that much, but anyways, let's forget the arteries. Right, we took down some of those things. I don't care about that. Now, I know you were asking about, you wanted to get into the sort of sympathetic nerves. I don't know if they're quite accessible enough to really get in there. Let's see. Let me just see. Would you be able to? It's kind of hard to get into the sympathetic trunk. I think that. I think I was trying to look for it because it's a big nerve and shouldn't be hard to find. I took some pictures. Where's the phrenic nerve? Phrenic. Oh yeah, it's got to be big right there. Oh, the vagus nerve. Well, there's a vagus nerve. Yeah, so the vagus nerve is theoretically one. Why'd you go away? I'll have to stop this soon because it's gonna. What's this? Hey. No. Cranial nerve 5, whatever. No. That's the vagus nerve. Okay. Goes up here, which is important for hitting, you know, but again, it goes way in. You're not going to be able to get it there. You probably could, I mean, well, again, you know more than me how you'd be able to get at it. But again, one of the hard parts is, well, it's not as protected. So, you know, it's a little protected there. You actually would have to go, I think, behind. Okay, that's platysma, whatever. Looks like you'd have to go behind. No. Let's see. I don't know. We'd have to. I'm trying to figure it out myself. Is this where were we saying? I think maybe we were saying that was. I'd have to look back at the acupuncture parts to. Too bad they don't have these combined. The sternocleidomastoid. It's thing, right? It's in front. No. Yeah, that's right. We were saying, right? It's. Let me see. So that's the sternocleidomastoid going up all the way in the back there. We're saying that no, it would have been in front of it. Like here is where the small intestine 17, I think, would be in the front of that. Because if I'm looking, I'm pretty sure, the vagus nerve is like kind of underneath and behind it. And that's where, so you'd kind of have to go, if you can get in, let's see, I'm starting to put mastoid. If you can get in behind the sternocleidomastoid, here, you can get in behind there, yeah, you can get to your, the phrenic nerve, which can do some serious damage. And where's the phrenic nerve run down? No, we don't care about that. How are we on? No. I had you. Vagus nerve. There we go. Right? You son of a bitch. Had the vagus nerve listen. Yeah, it's so there. So that's why it's a little hard to get to, because, like, you know, you have that protecting it. There's a lot of protection on it, you know, around here, as is not, son of a bitch, surprising. It's the one that's like lit up. I think the only way to get to it would be, yeah, so you definitely have to be striking, you know, there's this sort of between the trapezius muscles, and the sternocleidomastoid, muscles, you know, either from the side, or you might be able to get it, with the sort of maybe inside, joints of the finger, or I don't know, the thumb joints. But yeah, and I mean, the phrenic nerve involves the heart and things like that, but it's a lot of it in studying the anatomy, I think, is what you can actually get to with all of the muscles also present. So I'm going to stop it here, and then yeah, I'm going to stop it here.